Am I the jerk for buying my daughter a Bible? I bought my Hindu daughter, who's 14 years old, a Bible because she wanted one. I asked her why, and she said that she wanted to read all of the holy books and pull out their similarities and compile them to form the basis of one supreme religion. She also said she has no right to criticize any religion without knowing what it's about. She's a hardcore atheist. I was a bit weirded out, but teens, I guess. I got it for her and told her not to let her mom see. Take a wild guess. Her mom, my wife, saw my daughter reading the Bible and all hell broke loose. She screamed at me for trying to convert her daughter when my daughter has already renounced any and all religion and does not even portray herself as Hindu, and that she would grow up thinking Christianity is better than Hinduism. Here my daughter chimed in saying she couldn't care less about any religion and was just reading the Bible because she wanted to. My wife yelled at her, asking why she didn't read the Bhagavad Gita, the Hindu holy book, and my daughter simply replied that she didn't want to. My wife started screaming again, saying she was too young to make her own choices and she wouldn't listen to a teenager who used baby toothpaste. My daughter was like, okay, dad paid for the book, I'm reading it, where do you come into the transaction? At which point my wife called my daughter disrespectful and went back to her silent treatment. My daughter shrugged and went back to doing whatever. And here I am now. So, am I the jerk for buying my teenage daughter a Bible? The daughter's stance in this situation seems incredibly mature, especially for being 14 years old. She says that she wants to understand all of the major religions before she can criticize them. I think that's far more than most people are willing to do. Most people, whatever it is, religion or whatever the subject happens to be, try and talk about something that they don't really know about. In this case, she just wants to educate herself. I can't possibly see a reason why there would be anything bad about educating yourself, especially when it comes to a subject like this that a lot of people care so much about. I mean, she's basically preventing herself from becoming ignorant on these subjects that she wants to not be ignorant on. It's almost like the mom is thinking that there's something in the Bible that's going to be so dangerous for the daughter to see that it's going to make her leave her own roots, which it sounds like she already has. And by leave her roots, I just mean that she's not following the same religious ideology as her mom, because as they describe it here, she is already a hardcore atheist, not just a regular atheist, a hardcore one. I mean, the alternative to this, if the daughter is still going to be an atheist, which we're assuming because that's how the story began, the daughter would be criticizing the mom's religious beliefs and other people's religious beliefs without even understanding what they are or what the holy books that the followers of that religion say about them. So let me know what you guys would do if you were in this situation, and jerk or not a jerk, and why. Am I the jerk for getting mad at my wife whenever she talks down about our son's work? So basically, my son is a professional aerial performer and is currently performing in this large and popular horror-themed circus where we live. I know I may be biased, but in my opinion, he's really good, and it's just amazing to watch him perform. Maybe a little bit scary sometimes, and I sometimes worry about him with some of the tricks and acts he does. However, my wife will just tell people that he works in the circus, never mentioning that he's an aerial performer, that he actually works independently, and he is basically a contractor, nor that he works with a very large and popular circus, just simply that he works in the circus, is what she tells people. Whenever we are out and she sees a clown, she will point at it and say, "Look, it's our son." And it is very clear that she looks down on him for what he does, and she assumes he makes next to nothing and is poor. I know he's not. He doesn't make a crazy amount, but he makes enough to support himself. This all came to a head when we were with some of her friends, and one of them asked if our son could entertain her kids at a party, promising to pay him generously since he must be struggling. My wife laughed and responded with, "I'll see if he's free." I butted in saying he probably won't be able to, since the birthday party falls on a day when the popular circus is performing, which is where he works as a headline aerial act and is fully booked because it's so close to the new year. Almost everyone there was shocked since all this info was new to them. My wife looked pissed and left. She sat in the car and texted me that she wants to leave. I stayed for about 20 minutes answering questions and showing them some videos. The woman who asked apologized, saying she was given the impression by my wife that our son was a struggling and failing cheap circus performer and wanted to help him. When I finally left and got in the car with my wife, she yelled at me saying that I made her look like an idiot and a horrible mother in front of her friends. When we got home, she stormed out of the car and locked herself in our bedroom crying loudly, and she's been like this for almost an hour now, and I'm starting to feel awful and like a total jerk. I could have just left it alone. So, am I the jerk? Alright, this probably wasn't meant to be funny, but just the way that he described this ended up being unexpectedly funny. I know he genuinely does feel upset that his wife is kind of downplaying what the son is doing, and it does sound like the son is doing really incredible things. I mean, he's the headlining aerial performer act at this huge circus. That sounds awesome, but I can't possibly understand why the wife thinks so little of that and would describe it as, what do they call it? A poor, failing circus clown or whatever that she said earlier. And then she would point at clowns on the street and say, hey, look, that's our son. It just sounds like the wife has some sort of preconceived notion about what the son is doing. And maybe it just has to do with the circus and the fact that she thinks that the circus is beneath her. But it sounds like he's not just at the circus. He's doing incredible things at the circus. So I think it totally makes sense why the husband would be so frustrated. And he probably didn't mean to embarrass the wife in the situation where he interrupted her explanation of what the son did in terms of this whole birthday party scenario. But I mean, how long can he continue to watch that go on when she's saying, yeah, my son will work at your birthday party, and he would have to say something. He has to step in and say something there. Otherwise, it's going to perpetuate this weird misinformation that the son is a failing clown or whatever she said. So he probably didn't mean to make the mom this upset, but it seems like he had to say something because this is going on for way too long. But let me know what you guys would do if you were in this situation, and is he the jerk or not for getting mad at his wife whenever she talks down about their son's work? Am I the jerk for not wanting my husband to accept a gift from his ex-fiancée? So me and my husband have been together for 4 years and 2 years married. Last year, my husband was being a huge jerk to me and our close friends, so none of us got him a Christmas present or a birthday gift this year. Even after he got his life together and treated us a lot better, we're still trying to see if we want to get him a gift this upcoming Christmas. But considering a lot of us get our Christmas shopping done before Thanksgiving, we decided to get him any gifts a little later, and he would probably get his Christmas gifts in January or February. Recently, however, I saw that my husband had been talking to his ex on Facebook, and she offered to get him a Christmas gift this year. I brought this up to him and told him I wasn't comfortable with him reconnecting with his ex, much less receiving gifts from her. He told me that unless me and our group of friends get him something this year, he's taking what he can get. I reminded him the reason he didn't get any gifts was because he was being a jerk, and he said, I know I was being a jerk last year, but I'm better now. And the fact that you can't acknowledge the fact that I'm trying to make things better is selfish and narcissistic. He said that unless he gets a Christmas gift from me and one from our friends, he's taking his ex's present because he deserves something this year. So, am I the jerk here, or am I justified? There's a little bit of information added on to the end of this saying how exactly was he a jerk, and she says that he was just very rude and we would have a lot of arguments about his attitude. He'd make some insensitive joke here and there, and all around was pretty much annoyed at everything. I mean, the way she describes him being a jerk sounds not that bad, but maybe it's way worse than she's making it sound. I mean, it must be bad enough that not only she would notice that, but their group of friends would notice that as well. The strange part here is that they've all come together and decided on this plan to not get him a gift in order to teach him a lesson. It's kind of like he's a child or a dog or something, the way that they're acting about this. And it seems like the gift part of it really seems to mean a lot to him. For some people, they don't really care about the gift, they just want you in their lives or whatever. But in this case, it sounds like the gift itself is what's important. So him being deprived of that, if that's what actually is important, seems like a pretty big punishment for him having a bad attitude. I mean, maybe it's way worse than they're making it sound in this post, but what would you do if you're in this situation? And jerk or not a jerk, and why? Am I the jerk for telling my significant other he has a disorder? I have been with my boyfriend for 11 years and we have 3 kids, the youngest being almost almost 3 months. Since I've met him, he's been awful to wake up in the morning. I have to set an alarm for myself to start waking him up about an hour before he needs to be up. I start out waking him up nicely and gently, but eventually I have to resort to yelling as he just doesn't hear me or feel me shaking him. This happens because no matter what time he goes to sleep, although it's a little bit easier if he gets 8 hours of sleep, he can't wake up. This has caused many arguments, but it's getting worse as I'm so exhausted from getting up with the baby. I just have to be so loud in the morning that it wakes the baby up and there's no chance of me going back to sleep. I'm a stay-at-home mother and I understand this is a privilege and I'm sorry that he has to wake up early, but I feel like I should be able to sleep in if I'm up with the baby all night and the other kids are sleeping. He woke up this morning asking why I'm so mad at him and I replied, I'm not mad. I'm just talking loud so he will hear me and wake up. He replies, I am up, and then falls back asleep. I'm nursing the baby, stuck in a chair near the bed, and every time I yell, the baby gets startled and unlatches, and it really is starting to piss me off and it's painful. He semi-wakes up and we are going back and forth and I'm like, this isn't normal. You have to have some sort of sleep disorder because this is messed up, man. He looks at me aghast and says, who talks to someone like that first thing in the morning? So I tell him it's not the first thing in the morning. I've been trying to wake him up for over an hour. He just grumbled at me and gets in the shower. When he gets out, my middle son is asking for something and he snarks to him, be careful. She might tell you you have a disorder, son. I'm just so frustrated at that point that I tell him to get out of the house and get to work, and I start crying. I'm wondering if I'm out of line for saying he has a disorder and maybe I just need to suck it up and accept it since I don't have a job and get to stay home. What do you think? Am I the jerk? This entire relationship does not seem very healthy at all. It seems like neither person here appreciates what the other person is doing to the full extent. I mean, the husband doesn't seem like he appreciates that she's at home taking care of the baby and that she is the one bearing the responsibility to wake him up to go to work. Maybe he sees it as she's not even working. Why do I have to be doing this or something? And I guess less or so for the mom. The mom does seem like she appreciates him to the degree that she can before he starts snipping at her and getting angry that he has to wake up. But either way, they're both seemingly frustrated at the other one pretty bad. I totally see where the mom is coming from. She probably is not getting very good sleep at all. She's probably up all night with the baby, and then when he's at work, she's dealing with the younger kids who are not the baby and having to juggle all of that with what sounds like very little sleep or maybe no sleep at all. And all she's trying to do is to help him out by getting him to work on time, and he's getting frustrated by that. I mean, it sounds like maybe he does have a disorder. If he's really sleeping more than 8 hours and he cannot get up until she's doing all that, maybe he should get checked out by some sort of sleep specialist. One of the top suggestions in this whole thing was that the first day that he misses work because she stops trying to wake him up, he'll suddenly start waking up on his own in fear of missing work again. They say to tell him he's on his own, it saves you the aggravation, and if he does have a disorder, it forces him to figure it out so he doesn't lose his job. This is the top suggestion with a ton of upvotes, but it's kind of risky because it sounds like he is the only source of income for this house of 5 because they have 3 kids and 2 of them. But let me know what you would do if you were in this situation, and is she being the jerk or not for telling her significant other that he has a disorder? Am I the jerk for asking my wife to stop cooking Russian food? My wife is from Russia and we've been married for 4 years. We decided to start a traditional family since I earn enough money to support a few people and she likes the idea of being a stay-at-home wife/mom. Therefore, I pay the bills and provide for the family in order for her to cook, clean, and take care of the kids. It's been going well so far and both of us enjoy living that way. It's just that I get a bit frustrated when it comes to her cooking food. Don't get me wrong, she's very skilled and I appreciate it, but it's just the type of food that's been bothering me a bit. Her culture is important to her, which I totally get, so she cooks a lot of Russian food. However, I'm not a fan of Russian cuisine because it's bland in my opinion and consists of basically only dough and meat, plus some dishes such as jelly meat that just don't appeal to me. I suggested that she might want to try recipes that are not Russian or Slavic because I'm not a huge fan of it, but she was pretty offended. Yesterday I overheard a conversation she had on the phone complaining to her friend about this situation and calling me a jerk. Am I the jerk for asking my wife to stop cooking Russian food? In the situation where he is at work all day making money and she's at home taking care of everything at the house, I guess the understanding is that she is the one cooking all the meals, but maybe he could just ask her to have one meal a week that's not Russian food. I mean, even if it's bland, every single meal doesn't need to be this crazily exciting meal unless he truly does hate the food, but it doesn't sound like he hates the food. It sounds like he's just kind of tired of it and it's kind of bland. So maybe starting with that conversation of 1 day a week and seeing if she's up for that, as opposed to totally just making her stop cooking Russian food in general when he even says himself that her Russian culture is very important to her. The actual top suggestion in response to this whole thing is that what if you cook a meal yourself? To which somebody quickly followed up and said, if my other half is at home all day and I'm the one putting the money on the table, while I have to cook for myself, I might as well be single. With the swap situation, it would be terrible too if the woman is a breadwinner and the man would be the stay-at-home spouse. Heck, the man would be lynched if he didn't do anything while the girlfriend/wife works. So let me know what you guys would do if you were in this situation, and do you think he is the jerk for asking his wife to stop cooking Russian food?